Good afternoon and welcome to a very special session. As we come to an end of 2020, we are all set to unveil the MMA Modern Marketing Survey results and help the industry decode the impact it can have on business decisions in a dynamically changing, connected mobile world and how it can impact the choices we make going forward. I'm Monica Khurana, MMA India country head, and your host for today. This is the era of modern marketing. The marketer is upskilling to enable personalized user experience, MarTech implementation, and business transformation as must haves for marketing and business plans to succeed. Hence, it's important that MMA enables the expertise and learnings for the same. So, before we begin the session today, let me share with you about MMA and the various initiatives that we are taking to enable the modern marketing journey. MMA represents the entire ecosystem while serving the pioneering chief marketer. Our mission is to enable marketers to drive innovation and enduring business value in an increasingly dynamic and mobile connected world. We have think tanks, working groups, events, and an awards platform, the Smarties, which enables us to, on an ongoing basis, drive use cases, inspirations, impact studies, research, and best practices for the industry. The programs are run by working groups who meet on an ongoing basis to develop and execute industry initiatives that reflect the needs of the industry gaps and help our members to grow. We also have a MarTech Advisory Council representing the ecosystem to educate marketers, build capabilities, and enable educational programs focused on MarTech. As you are aware, today we're discussing key insights from a recently concluded modern marketing industry wide survey aimed at providing an understanding on the current state of MarTech adoption, the future of MarTech, and a view on how diverse Indian companies are investing in it. I want to use this opportunity to share some key takeaways with you, whilst a copy of the report will be mailed to you as well as will be available on our website for download. But before I do that, I do want to thank our partners who have helped us make the report come alive. So, a big shout out to SAS, Value First, InMobi, TechArc, Bark, Google, Agrah, and a special mention to Namrata Balwani, who is the MMA Martech advisor, an independent consultant, and on the panel as well with us today, who has been an integral part of the output you see here today. It's because of the support of the industry that we have been able to put together a robust view on MarTech. So I'm going to quickly share a few interesting key takeaways before we break into a panel discussion, which is representing 100 plus organizations by participants being absolute senior leaders and mid-level marketers and senior marketers. So, some of the key takeaways that you see on the screen being 81% of marketers are spending 10 to 30% of their marketing spends on technology license and technology usage fees. And 60% of them claim to increase their MarTech budgets going forward. They typically are enabling higher marketing efficiency and ROI through these investments. Integration between marketing and technology solution is being seen as the biggest impediment in MarTech adoption, according to 70% of the marketers who have responded to the survey. 58% say that their company prefers an integrated suite approach as the best way to adopt MarTech, while 51% of the marketers said their current marketing technology investments are in analytics, measurement, and insights, and typically they're using individual tool stacks to do the same. So these are some of the very, very broad top line takeaways. This is a massive report which will be emailed and which will cover a lot of depth along with some use cases and will be available to you for consumption. And it is a free report that we'll be releasing. But before we start the panel discussion today, based on the takeaways you see here, which will also be further decoded and demystified by our experts, I'd like to just call out some housekeeping rules. Do feel free to ask as many questions as you'd like in context of the discussion and the takeaways that would be highlighted, but do ensure you mention your name, your designation, your company name, and the speaker who you wish to address it to, so that we can make the answer relevant and contextual for you. With that, let me introduce you to our panelists who have joined me today to participate in unveiling the report and to share a view on the takeaways of the survey that have been already shared with them. So, can I please request the panel to put their cameras on as I welcome each one of you with a small introduction, which they probably may not have seen on your LinkedIn profile. So, let me start by introducing Kunal Aman, who heads marketing and communication at SAS India and looks after India and Japan. Kunal is sought for his views on marketing and tech dynamics. He also guest lectures at top institutes like IIT Bombay and SP Jain. Outside of work, Kunal has diverse interests. He's passionate about travel, loves to explore outdoors, runs marathons, writes poetry, and pursues photography. No wonder he calls it diverse interests. It sure is quite a bit of talent in there. So, welcome, Kunal. Next
Thank you
up,
so
we
much,
have
Monica.
pleasure to have you. Next up, we have Vijayant Dhaka, who's Senior Vice President at Value First. Vijayant has been invested in formulating and designing meaningful cross channel marketing solutions for multiple brands and agencies for over 14 years. In his current role, Vijayant manages billions of individual customer records to enable personalized multi channel messaging. On the personal front, he's a keen observer of people with skill, be it a car mechanic or a carpenter, as he believes they're guys with patience and a whole lot of talent. Couldn't agree more on that, Vijan. And by the way, he calls himself a full-time dog father and thoroughly enjoys cooking and traveling. I do love that description. So welcome, Vijan. Next up, we have Rajiv Dhal, who's Chief Revenue Officer at Z5. Rajiv has worked in a leadership position across a wide range of media and consumer internet companies in his career spanning for more than 2 decades. He currently leads the revenue function at Z5 and is responsible for driving sales, ad tech, and user data enrichment practice. In his previous role, he was heading monetization at Daily Hunt, where he also built awareness and demand for Indic language advertising, which I can tell you now is such a powerful narrative for all marketers. So, welcome, Rajiv, and it's a pleasure to have you on the panel. With that, it brings us to the moderator for today's session, Namrata Balwani, who and we couldn't have had a more relevant moderator. Like I said, she's also an MMA Martech advisor and an integral part of the survey that we've put together for the industry. So Namrata professionally leads is a digital and customer experience consultant. She has 2 decades of experience in marketing and digital. In her past avatar, she led digital strategy for Ogilvy. She actively consults brands across the region, enabling digital transformation, customer analytics, customer experience, and guiding corporates on choosing the right MarTech stacks. She was also a key part of Media to Win and was a co founder at Media to Win, an independent full service digital agency founded way back in 2005. On the personal front, she loves running and hiking, calls the Kindle her best friend, and has built a level of fitness to a point where she can do 100 burpees in one go. So, panelists, along with being grilled today on the survey, she may also throw a challenge open to you guys to compete with her for a round of burpees. So, you may want to gear up for that. That is on a lighter note, and with that, it's a pleasure and a privilege to have all of you engaged today to unveil the Modern Marketing Survey report. And as mentioned, a copy of the same will be made available to all those listening in. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Namrata to open the discussion with the panel.
Thank you very much, Monica. And thanks to everyone who's joined in to listen to this. Welcome to all the panelists. I hope we have a great discussion going forward. It's been an interesting year. So we've all been in a situation that no one could have foreseen. And somehow we've suddenly reached the end of it. We're now in December. It's December already. 2021 is around the corner. So I'm going to ask all of you whether you are making any New Year resolutions for next year. Should you make them? Are we allowed to make them? What's happening? What are your thoughts?
I traveled 180 days last year and touched uh, 11 different countries and their airports. And I'm missing it big time. So I don't know whether it's a resolution, but I'm desperate to step out. Operating from
Okay.
home is, yeah, it's troubling a little.
Yeah.
Efficiencies have gone up, but work-life balance has kind of gone off. So yeah, that's my resolution to put it in place.
To travel. Okay, let's hear from Vijayant. What do you think?
Well, getting back to travel for sure, but also adding that get to travel solo for a week or so. It's my 40th next year, so I had been planning for this for a long time. Hopefully, things get better, and I'm able to do that. So that's it, and also uh, keep an eye on my weight and fitness, and then maintain it. Be able to maintain it. I think that's been another challenge this entire year. I would have, it's been a cycle of plus minus 10 kgs in last 6-8 months.
Okay, that's interesting. I hope Monica's prompt about fitness didn't make you want to share that. What about you, Kunal?
So I think 2020 really taught me to value what I have, to be super grateful, not take anything for granted, even those things that might seem super small and super easy. So I think that's one thing I would want to continue into 2021, just keeping in, being grateful, keeping in mind that even those small things can actually go away and disappear in a moment. So that's my New Year's resolution.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So two people want to travel. I'm sure Kunal wants to travel, but his resolution is a good one. It's to remember the small things. I think from my perspective, I think resolutions are always meant to be broken. So I'm going to set something impossible. I don't know whether I will achieve it, but my goal is also to travel and to run a full marathon next year. I don't know if I can manage that, but that's my resolution. Okay, so coming on to the survey and the very interesting insights that we've had from this MMA Modern Marketing Survey, there have been lots of marketers like yourselves and many other people from the industry who've contributed to it. And the survey, in fact, has insights on everything from how much marketers are spending to what the outlook for the future is, what kind of areas and use cases do they think they should spend on, and what kind of skill sets companies need when they invest in MarTech. So for those of you listening, we'll uncover some of these and you can always download the report later because MMA will be sending you the details for that. Let's start with, I think, talking about the fact that what's interesting and what's come out is that 60% of marketers would actually increase their martech spending. And when I also looked through the report, it also said that 45% of marketers said it did not impact their media spend in any way. So that looks promising just in terms of how much marketers believe that MarTech is an integral part of their overall plan. And I'd like to ask Vijayant whether you're seeing the same trend from your perspective or as Value First. Do you see this trend of increasing spends in MarTech?
Yeah, yeah, it's very visible. It's very clear. Not only we have seen since June, especially, we have seen a lot more customer queries coming in. I'm pretty happy with the. I mean, it's a for the sales team, it's a happy feeling when you get to hear a lot more customer queries or new business queries coming in. That's not the challenge anymore. Like your report itself says, 81% of the marketers are already planning to invest about more than 10 to about overall 10 to 30% of their marketing budgets into tech and especially MarTech. So that's definitely, it's not a secret anymore. The existing customer that we have with us, there is a trend of overall increased number of communications going out. That's already happened. The challenge is a little different, which is the adoption of these platforms and technology, and that's a different discussion altogether. So what's lacking is probably the awareness or the right decision system, because there is not enough empowerment or education or awareness or information around, especially around Martech. If we keep the global content aside, in India, for India specifically, we don't have enough knowledge uh, transfer being happening around us. The ecosystem is still work in progress. It has moved really fast. It's still progressing. We are all work in progress, but I think we can do a lot better. Hopefully, this is like an opportunity in crisis for marketeers. So hoping for that. I mean, there are so many things that they want to do, but they don't maybe have the right partner, or maybe it's not the priority for now. There are so much happening around us, and who was prepared for this? None of us, right? So,
Right.
yeah.
Okay, that's an interesting point that you mentioned, that there is definitely an interest in spending, but it's also about how well it's adopted by companies and how do they actually make full use of it. And I think one of the other things that was highlighted in the report is that the biggest impediment to adoption, as per the report, is about the integration between marketing and the technology platform. So I like to ask Kunal whether he feels that these are some of the challenges that he faces as well. Is the integration a key challenge or a key impediment, or are there any other factors that you'd like to highlight?
So yeah, I think, Namrata, integration is certainly one of the tougher challenges out there. Now you start thinking about integration and you start realizing that, most marketers, they start looking at MarTech solutions as an attempt to either solve a business problem or enhance the customer experience, right? Now, the reality is that, we actually go out there, research the solutions, find a good enough tool, and that actually typically gets deployed in very siloed ways. And even our survey indicates that 88% of our marketers use specialist individual MarTech providers for solving certain cases, right? So that means basically solving those point problems. So basically what you end up with is having one tool for social media listening, another one for campaign management, another one for which sales uses for managing leads, right? And that naturally causes things to fall through the cracks, especially at the key transfer points. So that's one part of the problem, I think. And that's the reason integration is an issue. The other part is that unless you're making a fresh start, all of these MarTech investments actually have happened over a period of time, right? It's taken years. And in those years, what has happened is that there are new channels that have been introduced. The volumes of data have been multiplied. The customer journeys themselves have changed. So the MarTech space is moving so fast that companies are actually struggling to keep up, right? And that's the issue. So at SaaS as well, right? Integrations are certainly a problem. We have dealt with it time and again. And in fact, we are dealing with one right now as we speak. So and one of the things that I have learned over time is that not all integrations are created equal. Does X integrate with Y is often a deceptively oversimplified yes or no question. And in today's environment, which is the cloud, the answer is almost a yes, always. Right. But it's a bit like calling a restaurant and asking if they combine ingredients together. Sure, they do. But, at the end of the day, how tasty is the meal? How attentive is the service? How reasonable is the price? So, typically when we at SaaS start thinking about integration issues, the follow-up questions make a lot of difference. So, what are the use cases of, let's say, two products or systems or solutions working together? What does the implementation time look like? What are the data that is getting shared between them? Is it bidirectional, unidirectional? What is the user experience and how does governance work? Does it require the team to be additionally trained, for example? So I think those are some of the questions that for any marketer who's looking to integrate systems and having problems, I think those are the questions that help us gain that clarity ahead of time, And really the whole thing is that if we are connecting two systems, the bar that we should be holding integrations to is what does both these applications combined make better together. Because at the end of the day, we want to be connecting systems for more coherent customer journeys as opposed to a crazy quilt of horizontal or vertical integrations that exist today.
Right, right. Thank you, Kunal. That's really insightful. I think that resonates a lot with the kind of work I do because in my past experience, I was at the Landmark Group. I was leading digital marketing and digital transformation. And one of the key challenges we had was trying to combine. So, one was the customer journey itself and understanding that. But the second side of it was saying we have maybe 8 or 10 internal tools that we already use, and we're trying to build a system on top on the cloud. And so, if you ask the vendor and they just put a checkbox, yes, it can be done, it doesn't necessarily mean that because that might actually take 6 extra months depending on time scales, right? And I think the other important point that you made, of course, is that you may decide to invest in martech, but you might take a year to complete that integration or to implement it, by which time your data has moved, customers have moved, requirements have changed already, and it's not an easy challenge for marketers to answer, but certainly asking the right questions puts you on the right track. And so, coming from the fact that marketers therefore need to ask the right questions, let's also think about how do they increase marketing efficiency. So one of the top things that came out in the survey was that the main reason that marketers want to invest in MarTech solutions is to increase marketing efficiency and ROI. And I'd like to ask Rajiv, how does that resonate with your business? Have you seen ROI improvements with any kind of investments, and what insights would you have to share with us?
Sure. So I'll tell you, first of all, let's break the business into two broad clusters. One is businesses that have been created in last 20 years. And the other set is which were created prior to that, so pre-2000. The problem statements are very different for both the sets of companies. So I'm right now representing a very clear subset, which is a digital native company, wherein customers are of utmost importance to us, but we also have experience on our platform that needs to be personalized and various other things. So yes, it definitely does resonate. At ZEE5, we aim to deliver a habit-forming customer experience. We do want people to come back again and again and again on our platform and keep consuming new content. We are amongst the top OTTs in terms of original content. So how do we create a habit-forming experience is extremely critical. So one of the biggest areas that we focus on is look at insane amount of data which is available on a customer and try and figure out what are the taste clusters and what can we offer more that the user kind of, instead of a trial, becomes a habit. So yes, so it's like triggering, actionable. Same time, it should be relevant. It should be personalized because customer is spoiled for choice. They've got many more options now in the market. So how to get the ROI is a function of how do we train various aspects at a given point of time, which becomes more value driven to our customers ultimately. Now, technology definitely empowers our marketers, us today, to think of unfathomable things. So 20 years back, 10 years back, we never had so much of data. Today we have second by second data on what they like, at what point of time do they move out of that content, what's the next content that they watch, what was the content watched prior to the content that we are referring to. There's so many actions and behavior. There is journey analytics, so much of data that in fact we definitely need heavy martech, and we do use. I think all our decision making is data driven. I mean, if you ask me today, we may call ourselves as consumer internet company, which we are, but we are largely a data driven tech company. That's what in reality all the OTT companies or content companies are becoming. With this meaningful, we need to maintain that this is meaningful. There is ethical usage of first party data. That's another aspect that we need to keep in mind. So we cannot use anything the way we want. We do capture a lot of data that we burn out. We don't use it. We work on optimizing our business returns from our customer acquisition and retention business use cases. So that's where we are by spending less, which in turn, and ultimately, we want to increase the efficiency at the same point of time. We want the customer to be happy, and we want to spend less, and ultimately want the customer to start giving more LTV, lifetime value. I mean, in our business, the more the consumer spends time on our platform and talks about us because of better experience, more is the lifetime value or LTV increasing for us. So yeah, so we have seen, to answer your question, have we seen increase in ROI? Definitely yes. Today I can confidently say ROI or reduced ROI, we cannot operate without a lot of tools. It's impossible. I mean, at any given point of time, we are running 500 active campaigns. Manually, humanly, it's not even possible to optimize. This is just one part of the market. So the problem statement has become way more complex in a digital first company. Hence, our dependence on MarTech is very, very high. And we clearly see ROI going forward and clearly see adoption of multiple new tools which are AI enabled or state of the art. Yeah.
Right. Thank you, Rajiv. That's very insightful. I think the fact is that, like you rightly said, regardless of ROI, which will happen, you cannot do marketing today without tools simply because of the dynamic nature of it. So before we move to the next question, we like to just have a poll with the audience. And the poll question should be coming up now. It's about how effectively you believe current marketing technology stacks will meet your company's requirements. So do answer the poll, and then we'll see what the results are going to come up and be. And just on another point on data, the few years ago, I read a very interesting book, and that's a book that I tell a lot of people when they want to understand why they should adopt data. It's called Data: A Love Story. And the whole point of the book is that this lady she's a futurist, and she's an advanced mathematician and all of that. And she wrote a book on how she used data to find a husband. With primary characteristics, secondary characteristics, indexing. She shortlisted from lots of people, and then she did eventually have a happily ever after. So I tell people that if one individual can do that, imagine what a marketer can do. So let's move to the next question, which is really about, we have the results. So the results of the survey are that most people, which is about 67%, say moderately effective for how effectively they believe current marketing technology stacks are at meeting their company's marketing requirements. I see there's some room for improvement there, but about 20% or so say very effective. So I think definitely on the right track. Let's come to the next question. And since we spoke about how effective MarTech stacks are, one of the questions that is always a question marketers want to answer is, should you select a best of breed, or should you select an integrated stack, right? And this is always, that's been a debate that's been going on for a long time. And obviously the ones who believe in the best of breed have the freedom to choose between a wide variety of tools, but then in integrated, maybe your target vendor list becomes a little narrower because not everybody offers tools across the spectrum. So I'd like to ask Kunal, the survey results basically show that 60% of companies prefer an integrated approach. What is your approach in that, and how have you built your MarTech stack?
Yeah, so this is a tough one, quite honestly. No easy answers out there. But at SaaS, right, we have built a hybrid approach. A bulk of our MarTech stack is completely built in-house, right? And these are solutions that we offer to our customers as well. So it's, for example, visual analytics for all the dashboarding and reporting needs, customer intelligence suite for our segmentation, campaign management, and so on. And all of that means that it's fairly integrated, and we kind of consume our own medicine. Right? I guess that's easier for us being a tech company to say and do. But at the same time, even as a tech company, we also use and integrate with other best of breed solutions. We absolutely see value in some of the niche solutions that are there out there. And in fact, right now we are trying an AI and automation solution as we speak. So when it comes to choosing between best of breed or an integrated approach, I personally look at three things. So one is ease of use. Now, when you start looking at ease of use, integrated MarTech solutions are generally easier to use as well as implement. And that's why possibly the 60% of our respondents voted for this one. Yeah. You don't have to worry about connecting anything together. And typically connection points are where all the problems start to occur, right? So an integrated suite certainly reduces the effort and the time required for implementation. On the other hand, with the best of breed approach, I think building a seamless stack often requires substantial effort. Most MarTech products today have those APIs that make integrations possible, but I've seen problems arise because not every best of breed technology really plays well with the other ones. And especially in our case, if we have something homegrown, it's a little more difficult than usual. And the second one is for me is functionality. Functionality is also super important, and I've often seen that a best of breed approach usually leads to greater functionality. It's likely that we don't live in a world that where one vendor fits all sort of a scenario. Suite vendors typically can't be the best at everything. They often acquire products, and these products come with various varying quality standards. So it's important to consider when you're making that purchase whether you're buying what you're buying is really a patchwork of tech, or in what sort of functionality is super important to you, and then basically prioritize according to your needs. The third important thing for me is flexibility. And today, MarTech is moving so fast that we often end up with something which is within 18, 20, 30, 24 months, you will end up with something which has got less functionality than what you would really want, right? So I think today companies really hence prefer a cloud-based platform because that kind of puts them in the driver's seat. So it's quicker, it's flexible. You can swap new for old without affecting the entire stack. And I think the whole training time frame also needs to be taken into consideration. So flexibility is also an important one. So I think at the end of the day, when it comes to choosing between best of breed or integrated approach, it really comes down to your organization and your brand circumstances. What have you invested in? What is it that you really want to prioritize in terms of functionality? How important is that to your business? I think the business asks are super important. But sometimes I also feel that maybe choosing between the two isn't necessary. Perhaps the best option is also a combination of the two approaches, which means you can actually go for a niche product that integrates easily with your larger solution that you may have already invested in, and that niche product actually solves and has a greater functionality that you really need. But at all times, it's and I can't emphasize on this more. At all times, we have to make sure as a marketer that we're the organization's use of all these solutions, they needs to remain aligned with the overall business goals. Whether it is coming from multiple vendors or a single one is a different story, but it needs to align with what you really are trying to gun after.
Right. Thank you. That's very insightful. I think it is really important, like you said in the last, does it fulfill a business objective? Because too many times we chase the shiny new thing, believing that we need to adopt it, but we do need to understand what's really important for our business. Coming to the aspect of marketing automation, as part of our survey, 54% of marketers felt that there is a need to automate marketing. And certainly Rajiv has answered some part of that already earlier. But I'll just like to ask Rajiv what his success has been with marketing automation tools. And maybe, you already told us how it works, but maybe an example might be interesting.
So yeah, is automation critical? It's a gimmicky word of data-driven marketing, and we are no exception, to be very honest. Automate everything you can and humanize everything you can is always this balancing act. This is the mantra of modern marketing, and we also firmly believe in. That's what we try to balance out between the two. Don't be so data-driven that you lose the human touch. So there are definite areas of marketing operations that can be, or rather should be, automated. There's no debate with tools which are account-based, marketing-led, or so yes, it should be done. However, the human connection we believe is extremely critical. So we don't want to lose focus on that aspect of the business. What have we witnessed at our end? We've very clearly seen success in areas like automated marketing canvas, automated push notifications. I mean, there are millions of users and there are thousands of taste clusters, and then there are various new content pieces coming in. If you actually do a kind of a combination between the three, there are millions of unique combinations that need to be pushed, cannot be manually done. So that's completely automated. There is a quality check. So that's the human aspect, that we do behave like users and react to certain messages that are pushed out. We also, we are not perfect. Nobody is. So we are also learning, to be very honest, in this process. And nobody can become a master overnight. So are we. Other areas are like the RPA in automating communication, which is, and then customer engagement initiatives. So today we are trying to figure out, so as you know, OTT as a category, we, from a market standpoint, 90% upwards, we lose customers by D30. Now our numbers are different. Every company will have different way of looking at it. But we do want those 90 people or 90% people, which are in millions, to come back because they liked us. So it's like, automation is definitely used in the areas of understanding who our lapsed customers are, and how do we bring them back. So yeah, that's where we stand right now. These are few areas which we have completely automated, but obviously driven by the human thinking and management that we have at our end.
Right. Thank you, Rajiv. Balancing data, human thinking, automation all together is certainly a task that all marketers are juggling with today. And as part of the, this whole ecosystem of MarTech, if we look at what are the challenges that marketers or companies face with technology vendors, a big thing that has come out in the survey is that ease of use is the biggest challenge that marketers expect technology companies to solve for. And I'd like to ask Vijayant, how does Value First approach this?
So this is, I mean, not only a challenge with the marketers, it's a challenge for us as well. Letting or helping marketers and marketing teams and digital marketing technology teams, uh, helping them adopt the platform, enabling them on the usage of the best usage or the most optimal way of using the platform. Though it's very different with different brands, so we can't generalize that. There are digital leaders. I mean, the brands who are leading in their digital technology and marketing investment efforts, and leading by example. So they've made their investments. They were very thoughtful while making these decisions and investing money. They were also really thoughtful and proactive in collecting the data. And like Rajiv mentioned, automate anything that you can. So they were really early adopters. It all starts, in my opinion, about collecting that data, and then how do you basically go about it going forward. So it's very different. And then there are brands who are still trying to catch up, or have just started talking about MarTech or automation or adoption of digital as being the that important part of their marketing strategy. So is it data first or platform first? Some of them do also make mistakes of investing all their money at the same time. And while that's a good thing for enablers or partners or vendors like us, but that's not a wise thing to do, right? I mean, you invest slowly, you try a few things, you get good or decent ROI, you make mistakes, you learn, and then you keep evolving. So that's how it should be. So talking about ease of use, adoption of technology and platform, and using it to basically for the most impactful marketing efforts. I think as a partner, as a company, as a team, as Value First, we consider this as our responsibility to enable our clients on the power of the platform that they are using. Value First as a company has multiple platforms and solutions available for our clients. So it's on each platform, even if it is a new launch or an existing platform, we always take this as a responsibility. It's also about being proactively telling them about certain use cases and the business impact or the benefits. We also try to put ourselves into their shoes and see if we can solve a particular problem or not. If we I mean, that's a different story if marketers are or our clients are being proactive about sharing their challenges with us. Nothing better than that. So that's what it is. Examples like I can say that being a multi-channel or a cross-channel marketing stack, I have a certain percentage of clients who are not even using our platform beyond 20% of its potential. So yeah, so that's the challenge, and I'm sure this is the channel. If we do not start with the complete or full-fledged implementation, then the adoption can become a problem. And simple things like customer journeys, uh, single customer view, programs like last minute, say for example, inventory sales for an airlines or for hotels. Uh, these are now I'm sure they would have thought of it, but just that it's not the priority maybe, or it doesn't give, or they haven't tried it yet, simply speaking. And in terms of automating communications or customer journeys or programs, what we have seen and experienced in last 10 years, in my experience working with the clients, I've seen the ROI of anywhere between 2x to 20x on particular critical journey automation. It's about that, and it's just one time effort, and then it's all about managing the data, analyzing the customer behavior, user behavior on those particular communications or campaigns or programs, and then how can you keep evolving from there? How do you keep getting better? And then there comes the importance of being creative and design and content and everything else. So I think it's about delivering the seamless experience. So we try to do that, but it's definitely not easy. But we have decided that we won't give up. We'll keep trying. Ultimately, end of the year, any client who signs up with us, there is a target for each, at least for the key clients, and that's a very internal. I'm sure people do practice this already, but that's the level of focus that we have for our key clients. That there is a target on the percentage of adoption of the platform, or at least whenever we launch some new a new reporting dashboard or analytics or a new feature, that's the idea. So enablement by whatever it takes, marketing, efforts from sales, efforts from our client success team, efforts from the tech support team. So whatever it takes, that's how we look at it. And I'm sure everyone else in the market, anybody who cares, like not only just trying to sell, but who cares for their clients, it's like helping each other, right? I mean, if there is a human touch, if you understand the problem, you would definitely want to solve it for your clients.
Right, that's right, Vijayan. Thank you for that. I think one of the things that I've seen in my past experience, and it also comes out in the report, is that the people who decide on MarTech tools are senior leadership. It's always a CMO, CTO, and that's the level of people who decide. But the people who use the tools are people who are in the team. And so one of the things when I consult with companies also is that the people who choose the tools don't really get into the nitty-gritties of how it works. And it's probably best to have them decide it at an overall perspective, but to leave the team to decide what features they want, how well they want it to work with for their own workflow. And then there'll be much greater adoption within a team than if it's something that comes top down saying, hey, now we bought this tool and now start using it. So I guess there's different ways in which ease of use can be managed. It may not necessarily be technology. It could also be how it's being disseminated or accepted within the team. Coming to, I think, the next question, which is, we've been looking at what are the kind of things that the next 5 years, it's going to be important for marketers. And 60% of them in the survey have said that advanced analytics and automated decisioning are the things that they would look ahead in the next 5 years to invest in from a MarTech standpoint. And I'd like to ask Rajiv, what do you think from your perspective are the important tools going forward?
So as an organization, we always thrive to exploring and testing various AI for marketing tools by using that can actually use loads of algorithmic and machine learning capabilities. So we've got some insane amount of data on users, and look at our complexity. We are operating in a country which has preference changing after a few kilometers. in terms of language preference, in terms of genre preference. If you draw up a grid, 1.3 billion people, not all are right now relevant for us. A subset of that, within that language, within that geography, within that capability of a device, within that time of the day of the week, we need to be precise in reaching out to the right person at the right time with the right message, giving the right content recommendation. It is a complex problem. To deliver relevant, resonating, hyper localized, real time, and personalized customer experience is not a joke. And I think that makes our problem way more complex. So, that's the reason I said the way the digital native companies are looking at MarTech is a different ballgame. And so we are already using AI powered content recommendation engine, decisioning engines are already part of our day to day use. We are an agile content driven organization. I mean, technology and content move hand in hand for us. There is no denial. With that said, everything and anything that delivers real time and automated marketing engagement is of paramount value to us. We love trials. We work with almost everybody who can deliver value to us. So I think in our case, the next is already now. We are always looking into future. We're always ready for trying new things that can add value to our business. I can see scaling up usage of these technologies and making sure we get the right talent as well. So I will tell you, you touched upon a while back on the decisions are made at a different level. The usage is at a different level. It's a challenge that every company is facing. And trust me, this is one of the most critical challenge, how to get the right talent, how to train them, and then how to retain them, because they are valuable assets. And today they are high on demand. So that is a huge, that's the human factor in this all gizmoic world. We are also facing similar challenges. So that's where we stand right now. So we love experimenting. We are ready for anything that comes up that allows us to solve this complex puzzle. That's where we stand. So we are engaged with companies like, I didn't want to name, but Albert.ai kind of companies who can help media mix optimization. We do cross-platform optimization. So we are dealing with multiple companies, multiple use cases, a lot of cross connections between two partners, and making sure that we can deliver a better value by a combination of MarTech. May not be a linear single solution. So that's where we stand.
All right. Thank you, Rajiv. I think that's really important. And some of the stuff you said is really fascinating. If you think you have a challenge in recruiting talent, I'm sure everything you said with so much passion about the number of things that Z5 is already doing is going to make a lot of people apply. We have a quick poll now for the audience before we move to the next question, which is, what are your motivations to adopt and use marketing automation? So it'll come up on screen, and do answer it. Right. Well, coming to our next question, which is really, we've already, and Rajiv has already touched upon skill sets and talent and how important that is from a marketing and MarTech perspective. I'd like to ask Kunal that as part of our survey, we found that the top 3 skills that are required for a future ready marketing team, interestingly, are creativity, brand strategy, and digital marketing expertise. And I think creativity and brand strategy are things that marketers have always had or needed to have, and looks like they also continue to have. What do you think from your perspective? What do you look for in a future ready marketing team?
Yeah, look, I'm not surprised. The more things change, the more they stay the same. So the fact that brand strategy took the top spot this year is also quite reflective of the times that we live in. So
Yeah.
for most organizations which are not like Rajiv's, which are not digital natives, COVID-19 actually turned the 4 P's of marketing into 4 C's: chaos, confusion, crisis management, and complexity. So when you start looking from a customer standpoint, customers may never know how a finance department or an HR department in an organization responds to a major unpredictable event. But for marketing, well, marketing sets center stage. Its moves are reflected in every ad campaign, every message, that we send out through a channel. So we actually set the tone for how customers perceive the brand during a difficult time. And that's why, in my belief, brand strategy actually comes first. Right? In our own case, right, in at SAS, you mentioned creativity. That's another issue thing, right? I think when you start thinking about brand strategy, especially in a difficult situation, creativity really comes into play there as well. And when the pandemic hit us at SAS, we started thinking about how can we drive engagement based on creating value versus the sort of opportunistic marketing we might be doing earlier, right? So for example, we started thinking about and we rolled out all our certification courses for free online, so that the analytics professionals can use the time and get themselves certified with an industry accreditation. We also pivoted to start thinking how we can best serve our customers' most immediate needs. So in the case of Odisha, we work with the government to develop a publicly accessible COVID dashboard that tracks cases, deaths, recoveries, the effect of a migrating population. And our forecasting solutions there actually help officials predict how many beds, ventilators would be required at a particular stage. So I think, and this was a completely pro bono effort. It was then unveiled by the chief minister there, and is receiving around 40,000 hits every single day across, and it has done so for across 123 countries. So I think the point being that I think that's where the creative thinking starts coming into play. How do we really solve problems that are we have not seen earlier and we've not done earlier, but now are coming into play as we see. And the third thing I think is digitization and digital marketing, and that continues to be a hot selling cake for all of us, right? I mean, many of our experiments, especially in the last few months, whether it is digital selling, virtual events, etc., are going to have a long-term effort, and that effect is certainly going to be at least for the next few years, despite the COVID-19 going away. So I think being super skilled at digital marketing is surely a need for a future-ready team. Now, having said that, I think predicting the future is really a risky business. So saying what skill is very important is going to be difficult. But I think there's one more trait that I've seen come really handy for us, and that trait is agility. Now, as a business, you might see leads, revenues, etc., drying up. And in a crisis, especially, situations can get really unpredictable. So, when all of that was happening, we actually sat and assessed the disruption, defined the theoretical best, worst, and moderate case scenarios that could possibly play out. And based on those scenarios, we actually created a agile strategy that can help us navigate those turns, right? So, that, for our flagship event, which used to possibly have, it used to be conducted in the US, 6,000 odd analytics enthusiasts joining us in a physical, sort of an event. We pivoted that into a virtual experience. We saw participation from 35,000 people, right? And from India alone, there were 2,700. So I think the potential of digital is immense, but we need to really club it with a lot of agility. So we may not know what lies ahead. I certainly don't. But I guess, what we can do as marketing teams is to really develop that muscle to move forward with the agility and with contingency strategies. So I think, yeah, certainly agree with the poll out here, but I would add agility into the mix as well.
All right, thank you. That's very good. By the way, I've been in digital since 2005, and the reason I've been in it for so long is that it just keeps changing all the time, and that's what's exciting about it, right? Moving on, we have one more poll that's coming up for our audience. The results of the last poll, basically, most people said that increasing marketing ROI and efficiency is the top motivation, as we all know, and the second one is getting better insights from their current data. So before we move to the next question, we have one more poll for the audience, which we'll just like to flash before we come to the ending bits of this. And this is about how far in the future does your marketing technology roadmap or plan extend? Do answer that. And while we do that, I'll move to the next question, which is for Vijayant. And we've talked about skills. We've talked about what kind of use cases marketers would pick. One of the other things that came out in our survey now is that the top 3 areas where they plan to use a MarTech tool are analytics, marketing automation, and experience optimization. I don't think that's particularly surprising in any way, but does Value First see anything different? Does it get validated by your approach? Could you tell us more about that?
Sure. By the way, just adding to the last poll that just came up, I think the marketing roadmap, we should have an additional option of what, 4 to 5 years, because I have seen people now, considering what happened this year, people are talking about a few things like these, which is very exciting. And also, I hope it gets real. Like, I hope it gets implemented, not just get talked about. So investments in technology for next 5 years is what I have heard from a couple of uh, big corporate houses recently. So that was good to hear. Not just 14 months, 15 months, but 5 years. Great. That definitely helps us close long-term deals. Right. So, coming back to your question, as a company, every enabler like us is at a different stage of product life cycle, and coming up with platforms, prioritizing the development and the roadmap of the platform. So clearly, marketing automation is one space where we have, as a team, invested a lot in last 2-3 years, ranging from acquiring companies to doubling up the size of the team in last 6 months, and then investing in our infrastructure to scale up to 6x of current messaging requirement from our clients. Because June, suddenly we saw from month on month, from May to June, for the marketing automation business unit, there was a jump of 60% in terms of overall number of messages being sent by our clients. A huge surge, actually. And great thing that April, May, and we knew that we could see this coming, not 60% for sure, by the way. So we were pleasantly surprised. As at the same time, it was really good to see that brands are taking that, they are reaching out more than ever. So consider, I was on one of the podcasts that we do as a part of our marketing effort about a month back with Nikhil from Indigo Group. So some of the things that he mentioned were so interesting that as a brand, I asked him, how did you change or how fast did you move on your strategy of reaching out to your customers and consumers? And, so things changed drastically for everyone, significantly in those 2 months. So that's how we were ready for the challenge. That's how we invested in our technology and team, and June gave us that heads up as well. So yeah, coming back again, like I said, we have invested already to manage the scale of up to 6S of what we do currently. It's also partially to the fact that our sales pipeline has also grown more than we expected, and the demand is coming from some of the traditional, conventional big business houses where they really want to, at least they've started exploring marketing automation. I'm not talking about single channel marketing communications, because that's already been there. But now they're talking about chatbots, WhatsApp bot, and there are discussions. And I'm surprised that they are still slow enough to not implement or just buy it. As a sales head, I would love them to buy it ASAP and implement it, because now is the time for everyone to definitely put certain things together, especially in a virtual world, like a chat bot or a WhatsApp bot. It makes immediate sense. I mean, if you have budgets or investments to put into this business, please do. I mean, and do it as soon as possible before it gets, you don't want a broken customer, broken experience change. You want a seamless experience for your consumers if they're looking for something. So yeah, analytics is another piece. It's our wish list. Again, adoption is a challenge. For now, the priority is just to just let or help our existing clients to make the best use of the cross-channel marketing and multiple journeys and journey orchestration and single customer view and managing the data. So that's where we are. Always important to validate what what marketers would like to see, and this report definitely helps. So thanks for that, Amrita.
All right. Thank you, Vijay. I think maybe you need Rajiv to make a speech and get people impassioned about MarTech and adoption in the large business houses. Let's look at what were the results of our last poll before we close and move to questions. So most marketers are thinking about 13 to 18 months into the future, and then beyond 24 months. I guess the smallest is 18 to 24. So it looks like it's still wait and watch and what's happening over the next 1 to 1.5 years. In the interest of time, I think we'll take 1 to 2 questions from the audience, and then if we have more questions, we'll get replies by email, or if any other panelists want to answer on chat, they could answer as well. So let's see if there are any questions here. Okay, so I'll leave this open to any of y'all to please answer. How do we understand the ROI on MarTech investments? I think that was already covered earlier, but would anyone like to add anything on how to understand the ROI?
Do you want me to take it, or Kunal, are you?
Go ahead, Rajiv. You've been seen a lot of things, so I think we'd love your viewpoint on that one.
I hope the answer was that simple, to be honest. Honestly, it's every business is at different stage of life cycle, and it all depends on how do we define ROI. It's not only profits and it's not only sales. It's not only engagement, it's not only customer acquisition. So it's a balancing act between all. There is no straight answer, and that's a good part of this problem as well. It is complex. So please define at what stage of the business are you, how's the competitive landscape structured, what are your key objectives, and accordingly there has to be some metric of success for the business at every given defined stage of the life cycle. It has to be planned accordingly, and then the MarTech tools have to help you in terms of understanding whether you're moving in the right direction and helping you achieve those objectives. So that's my response to this question. There is no straight answer. That's the reason there are so many consultants who are needed to solve this puzzle. I hope this puzzle was so simple.
Yeah,
right.
I would like to add here, one of the discussions or my experience in working with a large e-commerce brand about 3-4 years back. So through the platform that they were using and that we had, it was our platform, they were generating about 25% of their website traffic on a daily basis. And when we got into a discussion about the ROI, it happens very often when you are a vendor partner relationship. When we talked about the ROI in one of the quarterly reviews or monthly reviews, we were told the ROI is not good enough. It's about 2 to 5. Sorry, it was about 2x. We want to achieve 5x. So that's the ROI. And overall percentage of business coming in to the total business contribution was about 2.5 to 3%. So then we got into details. We had a lot more questions. I tried to dig in deep, and that's when I got to realize or know that, okay, in terms of website traffic, we contribute about 25% of web traffic on a daily basis. So now what do I consider as my success? Is it 25% contribution to the total web traffic? Or now it was impossible that 25% of web traffic was only contributing 2% of overall business, because the business was online only. There was no offline channel. There was no others. Yeah, so it's very different. It's very different for a brand to, if ROI is ultimate GMV or business, which of course would be, then that's different. But for some, they are at a stage where they just care for the traffic that's coming in, and then they can focus more on sales later, maybe. Later, for some it's only app downloads. For some it's the usage of the app. So these are all different life cycles of a business. In my experience, this was one of the strange experiences. But yeah, a good one, because ultimately 25% contribution was our success criteria.
Right. Thank you. So that's been a really, really good conversation. We won't take any more questions just because we don't have enough time to do that, but we will respond separately. If you just look at what we've discovered or what we've analyzed today, there's so much more to MarTech than simple adoption. Like you said, it's about usage, it's about how teams adopt it, it's about how marketers extract real value from it, and some really important points around also using data responsibly, also considering the human side and the empathy side. Everything's not only about tools and tech. So thank you very much for a great conversation. Do download the results of the survey, and I hope all the people listening find it interesting. Back to you, Monica.
Thank you, Namrata. Thank you so much for moderating the session. And thank you, panelists, for helping us unveil the insights of the report and actually adding a lot of value to it by sharing perspective and POV, which helps our participants and all of those who will also view the recording of the session really understand it in context, because it's very true that, a lot of the industry is in a very nascent stage in this journey. And those who are ahead of the curve or are the digital native organizations like yours have a larger maturity, a larger grip on how to sort of how to look at KPIs for MarTech and how to really choose the right MarTech stack and how to value its utility. So I think all those inputs were extremely useful. Thank you again for doing this. Again, for all those who are listening, and we will share a copy with you on email. Those who missed the session will also get a recording of the same. So with that, I'm going to bring the webinar to a close. And I do want to put in a small reminder for our Smarties APAC Awards, which are coming up next. You can see the QR code on your screen. So in case you've not registered for it, kindly scan the code and join in for the virtual ceremony, which will unveil our 2020 champions for APAC. And it will be absolutely a stunning event, and you must not miss it. With that, I'm going to bring the webinar to a close. Here's a reminder of the various ways in which you can engage with MMA. You can subscribe to our monthly newsletter. You can follow us on our social media handles, participate in our programs actively, and help us shape the future of modern marketing. Thank you and have a lovely evening ahead. Thank you once again, panelists. Look forward to having you back soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for
Bye-bye.
having us. Bye.